Okay, so I wanted to do a really quick video on how to fix an overexposed image. Now, this one isn't too bad because it's only the sky that's really overexposed. You can see here on the histogram, literally everything is up on the far top right. So if I pull down the highlights, you can see not a lot of difference is made. So hopefully in this video we're going to be able to bring this image and turn it into something actually usable. So first of all, just mess around with the colours. I like to put a bit more blue into my images. We can adjust the colours later when we can see it more. Now again, just bring down the exposure. There's not really a lot you want to do with that because that brings down the entire image. The contrast, I'm going to bring that down slightly. Now the highlights, you're just going to want to drop those completely. You can see that it makes a bit of difference. So that's obviously before, that's afterwards. And again, if you don't like the colours afterwards, just put it back to what it was. I'm going to leave it at that for the time being. The shadows, I'm going to bring the shadows up a bit so you can drop the shadows and it makes it more of a moody shot, or you can lighten up the shadows. I'm going to lighten up the shadows and see how that looks. The whites you can bring up or you can bring down. It kind of is up to you really. I would bring them down bring them up ever so slightly. The blacks also bring down, just gives it a bit more vibrance. Now clarity, you can pull the clarity right up, which really does bring out the foreground quite well, or you can drop it down on this just to kind of give it that bit more detail in the foreground. The vibrance I'm going to drop slightly, and saturation bring up ever so slightly. So already you can see the image, you can kind of see more of the image. On the top left around here we can actually see the sand actually coming back into view, whereas before we couldn't see any of it. Now if we just get rid of that, the next thing to do is the tone curve. It's basically just following every step from my previous videos on how I color grade. I just pull up the shadows like that. I'll straighten it out there a bit, bring up the mid-tones a bit brighter, and then probably just drop down the highlights like that. So that's the difference that the tone curve makes, and again you can spend ages on the tone curve if you want to. I may come back to it later. Now the blues, again you don't need to do this, this is just how I edit my images. I always put a bit more blue into the shadows, so I'll bring that up slightly like that, and then I'll bring it down there. So this is before the tone curve, this is after the tone curve. So you can see it added a bit more colour and it's given it that faded look that you get from doing this part of the tone curve. And obviously this part just sort of mutes the whites a bit more. Now this is my favourite part. This is hue, saturation and luminance. The hue, it all depends on what colour scheme you're going for and what sort of look your image is. Obviously if I drag down the reds it makes things more pink, if I drag it up it makes it sort of more greeny yellow. I'm going to make it slightly more pink, and again it's really how you do your workflow and how you want your images to look. The greens, obviously they're not going to do a lot because there are no greens in this image. Aquas and blues, again I always pull them down, but to be honest this image there's not a lot going on with those colours. The purple does affect the aquas and blues as well. Now the magentas, the entire shirt, the entire hoodie is the magenta colour, so if you want it to be really sort of red or pink, I kind of prefer the red, so I'm going to leave it like that. So before and after, you see it hasn't really made too much difference apart from to the skin. I'm going to bring a bit more orange back in, so you can see really not a lot of difference is made. It's slightly greener in the sky and that's really all it's made. Saturation, you can kind of mess around with these as you please. I'm going to bring the reds down a bit, the oranges up because that's the sand right at the front, the yellows again up a tiny bit. Greens doesn't make any difference. Aquas, pull those up. Blues, pull those up, because I like my images to have some blue in them, just because it's more pleasing and it fits with my feed. The purples, again, don't really do an awful lot. I'm going to pull those up probably to about there. The magentas, that'll be the entire hoodie, so it can really blow out and look weird, or I can pull it down. I'm going to pull it down probably to about half. So before I've done the hue, saturation and luminance, that's what the image has changed. Now from the beginning we had that, now we've got that. Now the luminance, red is the face, I'm going to bring it up slightly. Orange again is the sand, so we're going to want that to be more. I might actually bring the reds down, yeah, because that's the background, you don't want to distract where the eye's going. The yellows, bring those up again slightly. Aquas, that's the sky, so you want to bring those down, and the blues probably down as well so you can get more of the sky. Now coming back up here to the blues, I am going to make the blues slightly more blue and less green, and again just drop down the saturation a slight bit more. You will notice as you go through you will have to go back and change things just because what you do later will affect what you've done earlier. So far that's kind of what I'm thinking. Now camera calibration again is more colours. So again, if I pull that down, I'm going to make it really green. If I pull the red primary up, I'm going to make it really orange. So that's how people get their teal and orange look. And it all depends again on what colours you're going for on your feed. I personally like the teal, so I'm going to bring that down. If I pulled it up, then I get the sort of blue look. Then if I pull the red primary down, and I can kind of remove some of the greens if I wanted to. So you can go for something like that. Obviously that's before and after. Again, with all editing, if you're doing colours, I really recommend just colour grading it and then coming back to it a few days later just to kind of give your eyes a rest, because you can overdo things. And I think I have overdone the blues, so I'm going to try and desaturate the blues a bit. And actually I'll do that in the HSL slider. So come up to here, bring the blue saturation down, and the aqua green also, see if that does anything. The blue luminance, brighten it up ever so slightly. Okay, so that's the before and that's the after the colour grade. Now again, you can go back and you can adjust more, but this is just a really quick show you how you can save an overexposed image. And again, it's a still pretty good image, judging by what it looked like from before and how it looks like afterwards. Now again, for lighting, this was taken midday, like I think 1 o'clock in the afternoon it was taken, so you've got really, really bright sunlight. So it's just proof that you can actually take photos during the day and you can actually get a usable image out of it afterwards. So I hope you enjoyed that video. I will probably have some more stuff coming up. If you do want to follow my Instagram, you can see all of these photos. It's at Sebastian_JWB.